what to think of Will Smith's slap and what does it say about you. Before I begin with the main part of the video, I have to make it clear before anyone posts a comment here that I am censored by YouTube and therefore I cannot answer or respond to any of your comments. So, if you want a response, write a comment on BitChute or Odyssey on the channel with the same name. First, a disclaimer about the entire slap thing. I don't know if it was staged or not to drive the attention to the Oscars, but this is not the point of my video. Second to note is the obvious. I am not from the Anglo-Saxon hemisphere, and this is an important fact in that matter that it changes my entire perception of this event. The cause of this video and what really aggravates me are the people and their comments on videos of YouTubers like Heel vs Babyface or Ryan Kinel. They are showing how much the left has influenced them in their thinking despite their denial, and sadly the YouTubers themselves also carry this pathetic mindset. In my life I had many different contacts and friends from all over the world, and often from more archaic societies like the Balkans, Turkey, Iran, the Middle East, Pakistan or Afghanistan. And if there is anything important that you can take away from this video, then take this. Never, absolutely never insult a person's family, especially the close family members like father, mother or wife, because honor killings are a real thing, even for and of the family members itself. If Chris Rock would have insulted the wife jokingly of, let us say, a rural Albanian, then it would have been nothing unusual if he ended up with a perforated stomach. This would have been even normal in Western countries some 100 years ago. And 200 years ago, in Western Europe, people would have thrown the feather glove in your face and challenged you to a duel. Which, by the way, was a slap to the face, sometimes with a glove and sometimes barehanded. This is also fun part of the film Highlander, where the drunken Conor McLeod is facing a duel because he has insulted the wife of another nobleman. And if Will Smith would have challenged Chris Rock to a duel like a gentleman, then it would have made this entire situation more funny and seen as a joke. As a historical fact to note is that the slap as an insult or a harmless attack was also a part of the knighting process in European regions with this right. In German, this part of the knighting process is called the Ritterschlag, and it translates to knight's punch, which was also done with the broadside of the sword. This slapping was a last insult and symbolic attack that the new knight should take without a response. Today, this is only a slight touch with the sword on the shoulder in the knighting rite. Most societies have a stricter and stronger understanding of manhood, manliness and honor than the West. And if you insult the family in the public, then you are undermining the men in the public. And this is a cause for a response or a hard reaction to retain an equal footing. The corresponding reaction depends on how the society is structured, but often you are in for a knife fight in the previously mentioned societies and nations. In South Italy, 40 to 50 years ago, this would have led to major problems, and even criminal organizations in current year, like the Hells Angels, will also not tolerate this. Archaic societies are not infected by the political correctness and left tendencies, in opposite to the main Western societies. A man there is a man, and he has to do things that only men do, and fighting and killing is one of them. While Marxism is teaching men not to behave like men, but more like women, under the guise of civilization and equality. And the West should not be so arrogant to think that this is better than societies that survived millennia, because it is already dissolving right before our eyes due to the lack of many virtues in just under a century. Those archaic societies are already back in Western Europe, and the Swedes, French, British, Dutch, Belgians and Germans can sing a song together about it. Will Smith has reacted like a man, but he is not used to it. Therefore he did it incorrectly so that it looked pathetic and more like an emotional breakdown. He has broken the tension between him and Chris Rock too early, which could be also a hint that this was staged. Will Smith should have stayed on the stage after the slap, grabbed Chris Rock by the collar and stayed directly in his face, "Never make jokes at my wife's expense again." After that he should shove Chris backwards to give them both a distance and to make clear that this is not a joke. A slap is not directly a violent attack since it can do bodily harm. it is a form of an insult. In the Bible it is written in Matthew 5:39, "But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also." The strike here is referring to a slap and not about giving up the self-defense, but that you should stoically endure insults directed at you. Let me tell an anecdote from my life and recent events. My neighbor came complaining about my daughter and her playing loud music during the day. But I stated to him that he yells at night so that my family wakes up and often cannot fall to sleep again because of his yelling. As my wife came out to repeat this complaint, he insulted her. In this moment he has shut down any discussion about it, and I said to him, "You will not insult my wife." Then he answered, "So, what are you gonna do about it, you fucking Polake?" This is intended as an insult, but it derives from the self-name of Polak, therefore it has no insulting content. I repeated, "You will not insult my wife." He made a second mistake as he called me again a fucking Polake and attacked me with a headbutt. I instantly grabbed him by his collar and pushed him against the wall, so that he has suffered a laceration on his back of the head. In the second I was holding him pressed against the wall, I regained self-control and stopped myself from further escalation. So I restrained him until he came back to his senses. After this, I disinfected his wound and explained the signs of concussion to him, so that he could call me in case of losing consciousness or if he needed to be driven to a hospital. But do not expect such a control of behavior from other people that are used to violence. And therefore be always respectful and never insult people just because you think you can. And do not make jokes at their expenses, because many people do not take jokes so lightly. In this regard, make jokes about yourself without being too self-denigrating, and laugh about the flaws of your own nation. We all laugh at best about ourselves and about the little flaws that we all have and share. So, be always a strong, respectful, virtuous man and not a degenerate or a leftard. My opinion about this entire Will Smith incident is very simple. It is absolutely nothing, not even violence. This entire thing is nothing to talk about besides laughing, and it is nothing to point a finger at. It is neither good and neither bad. And if you think that Will was violent, then you don't know what real violence is, and you have lost the connection with real manhood. In my life, I have been attacked with weapons like knives, and I have received many wounds from fights and accidents. Even in kickbox sparring, I was often nearly knocked out due to my partner not holding back or using techniques that were not allowed in this training. And based upon experience with violence and accidents where I nearly lost my life, I have acquired this attitude of manliness. Because men do stupid, risky things and win often stupid prizes. And this is why I cherish all the scars that I have, while they make me smile, because they show me that I am not a pathetic sissy and that I stood my ground. But if you are a man and you don't have this attitude, then you should regain your balls and come back to the manhood. Start doing Thai or kickboxing where you get a good smack or a kick from time to the head or the guts. Or make judo so that you get smashed against the floor, and you will see that Will's slap was nothing against it. The experience with this controlled violence will harden you, and over time you will laugh about your previous attitude. Like your current attitude to call a slap violence and to think of Chris Rock as a violent survivor with PTSD. If this last exaggerated part sounds ridiculous, laughable, comical or farcical to you, so it should. Because if it sounds pathetic and looks pathetic, then it probably is pathetic. Most of you play video games and watch violent sports and films with violent content, sometimes that of the extreme kind. You also cry about losing manly heroes and whine about the feminization of male franchises. But now you are losing your shit like a girl when a man slaps another man in real life, talking about hypocrisy and the lack of manly heroic attitude. Therefore, become more manly alone by watching my videos, subscribing to my channel and buying my F-King game. And yes, full martial arts help quite a bit too. Also, there is much discussion about the marriage of Will Smith, but this is nobody's business besides that of Will and his wife. And if there is something that breaks Will as a man, then he should end it, because a painful end is better than the pain without the end. Also, Will should leave the degenerate cesspool of Hollywood, because nothing is worth the soul and sanity. especially there. Now back to something totally different, with the arising question. Why do I recently make so few videos? Why only this video since the beginning of December? The answer to the first question is, to talk about sword and sorcery and to explain the facets of it, I need good examples. And it is the best to use my own made examples, therefore I work to make my game accessible at Steam Early Access. After that I will shed more light on sword and sorcery and sci-fi. And the answer to the second question is, this video was necessary for me to put my anger about pathetic opinions and demeanor out, because I cannot make a game about heroic barbarians if I don't put this previously mentioned down. And keep in mind that only people with heroism in their hearts can make true heroes in fiction.